Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle from WeAreSC.com. We have the usual foursome and a lot to talk about today. We've had yet another week of fall camp. We had a scrimmage that was open to media, and I think we know a little bit more than we've known before. So we're going to spend a lot of time, probably the second two-thirds of the show, going through what we think we know about this year's team. Let's start with this. Let's start with NCAA stuff because that's always a cheery topic when you're a USC fan. You get to talk about the NCAA. It's Monday afternoon. DJ Wingfield's counsel was in Santa Ana at the federal courthouse trying to get a preliminary injunction today that would essentially overrule the NCAA's ineligibility ruling and let USC have its starting left guard back. We don't, as far as I know, have a final ruling from the court. We do have a tentative ruling, and the tentative ruling is not great. If you're an SC fan, essentially Judge Selna has said that he has not satisfied the requirements for a preliminary injunction, and therefore, if that stands, then he will continue to be ineligible, and USC is going to have to find an answer at left guard, which is something we knew was a possibility for some time. I have seen Judge Selma change his mind after issuing tentative rulings, but it would be a surprise if he changed his mind. It was a pretty lengthy tentative. It went through the relevant case law, and I think the best way to describe it is that Judge Selma is drawing a distinction between NCAA rules on eligibility and NCAA rules regarding compensation, and finding the former to be the sort of thing that the NCAA can legislate without running afoul of the antitrust laws, and the latter has become problematic for the NCAA. And so that's a distinction that Judge Selma at least believed was the right one before the hearing. So, guys, unless things change between now and the time he issues his final ruling, it looks like DJ Wingfield is out and that USC is going to have to plug somebody else in at left guard. So, thoughts on that? I'm sure nobody's thrilled with it. I know I'm not, but
well, I think one person's probably, I don't think at the expense of a teammate, but probably a little bit excited if that all goes the way that you presented it, would be Michael Benuelos. I think he probably is a person that would stand to be a strong candidate to open up the season at guard. I'm sure that the competition isn't over at all, but based on what appears to be that what little people can see now, I realize, and I think we need to say this, we were at the scrimmage, okay, that they held on Monday, and we saw a lot of things that we cannot comment on. I would say that we're appreciative of Coach Riley allowing us to be in there for quote unquote observation. And there was a lot to observe. And because I don't want to sit there and ruffle any feathers, I think I can speak for the other teammates on WeAreSC that we're not going to say much of anything other than it was interesting and well worth going to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think when we get to that part of the show, I'm going to lay out how we're going to tackle this so we stay true to what the athletic department wants and also pass on what we think we know about the team. I think you're right, Micah Ben. Look, it's football. Whether it's ineligibility or an injury, which are extraordinarily common in this game, it's next man up. Micah Benuelos may have an opportunity here. Tobias Raymond may have more of an opportunity here. There may be some other guys that do. I don't know whether this ruling is right or not. I don't. I haven't studied the case law on this. I know that Jim Selna is a very smart judge. He doesn't always do what I ask him to do. A lot of times he doesn't, but he's a smart judge, and I've known him a long time, and I think he's an honest judge. My issue is with the NCAA, fellas, because what you do, you have a governing body, whether they can enforce their eligibility rules without running afoul of the Sherman Act or not, which is sort of the legal question here. It's certainly the case that this seems to be an arbitrary and capricious organization that now has all kinds of inconsistent rulings all over the country because the NCAA insists on enforcing their rule, even if they lose in various district courts in other places, so that people are not treated equally.
That's
I have a problem
that's
with
what's crazy about the whole thing, right? You've got a safety at Indiana, you've got a wide receiver at Memphis, whose career started at the same 2019 kickoff as DJ Wingfield, and that's where Wingfield's case seems to hinge on is the focus on that 5-year rule, right? Five years to play for it, and you're even including kind of the COVID that doesn't count, so that there's that. But within 5 years, you play four, and you've got guys that started in 2019 that are playing this year, and then you've got guys that started in 2019 that have the same JUCO seasons that aren't playing this year. And that is where it's wild. And I don't know how you defend not playing. Now, when it comes to the big picture, Wingfield's had 4 years. He's played his 4 years. So in the how it's always been done forever, he's used his eligibility. So I can't say, this was the wrong ruling. He should be eligible this year. He's played his year. But you have these players out here
Yeah.
who've gotten it, and that's where the frustration has to come in. Of, well, if his case has been heard in this courtroom at this date, then he may have gotten this ruling, but because it was here and here, then he got that one. It feels a lot like, I mean, not that it's all that similar, but the Reggie Bush thing where with USC it was just wrong place, wrong time. Shouldn't have been first. Should have been seventh
About by
after
15
everyone
weeks.
was desensitized, and it's whatever, right? So that's where it's frustrating again from a USC point of view is that guy has the exact same thing and he's playing this year.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
think
my question, Chris. Why wouldn't your friend, Judge Selna, just call a couple of his peers who've already ruled on this situation that Eric so eloquently laid out and say, why did you give that ruling? Tell me why I should do the same.
Yeah, I would be stunned if DJ's counsel didn't put those rulings in front of Jim Selna. If you look at Selna's tentative ruling, he is relying on the relevant case law from the Ninth United States Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the court that reviews his decisions. That's not the appeals court that reviews some of these other decisions. There are sometimes differences in authority between the circuits. Again, I don't know if Selma got the ruling right or not, and I would say, it's probably a stretch to say that Jim Selma and I are friends. I worked for him for a few years, and I've been in his courtroom many times. He knows me. I know him. I respect him. I'm not sure that I'm not sure he's going to send me a Christmas card this year. So, but the problem I have with all this is I don't understand the NCAA's insistence that they're going to enforce these rules against some people when they've already been precluded from enforcing them against others who are in exactly the same position. The reason the NCAA has these rules is they're supposed to create a level playing field for competitors. And instead, they're taking a course of conduct that creates an unlevel playing field between competitors. And this is the sort of nonsense that we put up for years and years and years from this organization. It is an amateurish, seemingly corrupt, seemingly stupid organization that has an unbelievable amount of power, thankfully slipping away by the day, over arguably the nation's second largest spectator sport. That's nuts. It's nuts that those clowns run college football. It's insane. And we had yet another example of this week with the Michigan decision. Now, listen, I'm not going to go on well, I might go on a tirade. I'm going to try not to go on a tirade about Reggie Bush, all right? But here's what we know. the NCAA comes down and they conclude that Michigan did all kinds of bad deeds and tried to cover them up, right? Now, as USC fans, we know that just because the NCAA committee says something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I know the NCAA is saying it's true. And their response to this, when dealing with university that they say has simply not played by the rules and hasn't tried and intentionally covered it up and is a repeat infringer, right? This is the second time for some of these guys, including the current head coach at Michigan, Sharon Moore, who, by the way, apparently deleted all of his text messages on this subject so that he wouldn't get caught, and later admitted that's what he did. And the NCAA's response to all of this is to fine him a little bit of money so that the NCAA can go on engaging in unfair litigation around the country, I suppose, and to tell Moore that he has to miss one more game this year.
No, next year. That doesn't take up until 2026. It gets, I mean, it's worse than that, Chris. You're laying it out, you're making it sound all, neat and tidy. This is just wrong on so many. I wrote it, man. I went on the tirade that you don't want to go on right now.
Do it, Mark.
NCAA did to Michigan compared to what they did. They said Michigan cheated. They had an unfair advantage. They had a lack of institutional control from the top down to the bottom. And they deserve to miss postseason play, but we're not going to do it.
Here's the other thing. When you go and you look at the committee, and I don't know any of the people that were on that committee, but here's what strikes me about the NCAA and the way they run things. They go and pull these people from around the country who all have their own jobs, right? They have full-time jobs doing other things. And everybody they pull in is somehow, not everybody, but most of them are somehow related with college sports somewhere. You have you have an athletic director on there. You have a second tier conference commissioner from a second tier program on that committee. You have all of these people. And my question is, why in the world is the NCAA run by a bunch of amateurs? Why? Would the NFL do this? Would the NFL ask for volunteers around the country and put together ad hoc committees to look at various things, knowing that you're getting people who are not professionals, who have their own biases, who oftentimes have their own interests, right? Conflicts of interest in many cases. I don't know if that was true here. And you throw them on a committee knowing that what you're going to get is a hodgepodge of results that are never consistent. Why in the world does anybody put up with this? I can answer your question. The reason they put up with it is because the people that run the universities want it this way. They're the ones. The NCAA does not exist outside of USC and Oregon and Nebraska and Florida State and all the others. They're the ones that prop up the NCAA. They're the ones that tolerate this absolute nonsense that's been going on for decades and decades. Whose fault is it? It's the university's fault. It's USC's fault. And it's all the others. It's absurd to me. Jen Cohen, why would you support the NCAA at this point? I don't see any reason why you should. And all of these, listen, we've been talking about how college football is a wild west for a long time. We need rules. We need the rules to be enforced. I agree with all that. But the response to the universities has been, yeah, let's have these new rules and let's give the power to the NCAA to enforce them. Screw that. It's absurd. It is absurd that they don't have a professional organization run by professionals handling this stuff. This is not the local Little League. You don't have to take some volunteer parents and throw them out there and just hope for the best. It's embarrassing at this point.
Someone had raised a really good point. I went off on this on my own show, but someone said, you know what, Mark? When Michigan comes to town, USC should put up that national championship banner that they took away from 2004 against Michigan when they come into town, just to kind of drive that point home. Put the wins back in the record book. Call up Tiffany's and say, hey, can you make me a new crystal football? Put that back up inside Heritage Hall. What's the worst that can happen? A fine? I mean, it looks like that's the penalty nowadays. pay your tax.
Yeah, well, the NCAA definitely needs. I don't know where the money's going. Does the NCAA hold on to it? I didn't bother to look at that. They already make a boatload of money from March Madness, right? A gigantic, shocking amount of money. The NCAA doesn't need more money. The NCAA needs to be disbanded. They need to find some professionals to run this organization. I mean, it's just shameful.
I just love.
look,
I mean, I love. The best thing to come out of this by far, and clearly, I mean worst. The idea that, well, we don't know how much it actually helped because they destroyed the evidence, so we can't really punish them because maybe it didn't really help is just, it's phenomenal. That part is phenomenal. So again, yeah, it does. I mean, it becomes one of those things where it's like, this says I can't park here, but not really. It just costs me a little bit more to park there, right? I mean, and you go into seasons with that now. Yeah, it's gonna cost us a little bit more, but we can do whatever we want. And frankly, that type of cheating to me is so much worse than, well, we got a guy. Like, you still have to win the game. You put the players on the field. We got this guy through unethical means and paid him or whatever that is. You still got to go win the games. If you're doing stuff inside the game to then tilt it, that to me is worse. So but Michigan's done this right from the beginning. Hey, we're going to push, we're going to fight, we're going to make this really, really difficult on them to do anything. And
the NCAA
it seems like they got it right. I mean, they're not even happy with this. They're going to keep fighting this punishment.
The NCAA gave a full-throated endorsement. Go ahead and cheat. Go ahead and
and this is absolutely right. What we've seen is the people, the universities that stand up to the NCAA ultimately get a much lighter punishment or no punishment at all. This is what's happened. Everybody has learned from the cowardly way that USC handled their problem. And let's be honest, that's what it was. It was a cowardly way to handle it. They got railroaded when the NCAA twists the almost certainly false testimony of a convicted felon. And that's the only testimony they had tying any of this to the university. And USC's response is to send Pat Hayden to Indiana to shake some hands and beg. And Pat Hayden was arrogant enough to think that he would get them to change their mind just because he was so respected. I mean, the narcissism of that clownish act that, well, because I'm Pat Hayden, I'll change it. No, you know what would change it? Soon the NCAA would change it. I don't know. Talk to Ohio State, talk to Auburn, talk to Penn State, talk to Michigan, talk to everybody else who actually, fought on instead of just rolling over. I mean, I'm angry with the NCAA. I'm furious with the NCAA. I will never, ever forget Pat Hayden and Max Nikias. As long as I live, I will never forgive them for the way they handled this. Shame on them.
Josh Pate raised a really good point. He said, look, I knew this was going to happen. I knew it way back when I was talking behind the scenes with the executives from the TV networks. It's the TV networks now who are saying, you know what, we can't have a Michigan not make postseason play. We can't have our TV ratings affected throughout the season because nobody wants to watch Michigan, which raises the question, how bad or how much better could it have been for USC had the Pac-12 conference had stronger leadership?
All right, guys, I'm just going to start going on a tirade again. I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to hear it. So I'll stop.
When are you going on a rant, Chris?
What's that?
When are you going on your rant? I've been waiting for the rant.
I haven't gotten warmed up yet. I mean, I ran it on Pat Hayden and the NCAA. That's enough. I don't want to talk about it anymore. If you guys have something to say, you can finish it up. This is more of the same nonsense as before. And what we're looking at when it comes to having some rules so that college football isn't the Wild West is trying to find a way to give more power to these same clowns. That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. All right, whatever. We're done with that. All right, let's talk about something new. Let's talk about, because there was some, playoff expansion is in the news all the time these days. The Big Ten and the SEC are, of course, at loggerheads. The SEC wants more than 4 more than 4 bids and think they'll get it, which they probably will. The committee will probably give them 15 of the 16 most years. And the Big Ten wants to have automatic bids in large part because the Big Ten does not trust the committee and probably doesn't trust ESPN and their power with their connection to the SEC. So the Big Ten is now proposing some sort of 24 or 2018 playoff. Now, that's absurd. Although I think if you really understand what they're saying, what they're calling playoff are some play-in games at the conference, right? So they want to have 4 automatic bids, but they also want 3, 4, 5, and 6 to play for 2 of those bids. And so I think they're calling all those games playoff games. If the SEC does that, the Big 12, the ACC, you very quickly get to 20 games or so. I'm not sure that's going anywhere. I'm not that interested in that. What I am interested in was the SEC commissioner's statement earlier, where he said that they're not good with the 4 automatic bids, but he made a comment about how they might be interested in the Big Ten playing the SEC for those spots. Now I don't know if that's going to go anywhere either, but now listen to this. Imagine if instead of 3, 4, 5, and 6 from a conference playing each other for 2 spots, if the number 3 team from the SEC plays the number 6 team in the Big Ten, number 4 from the SEC, number 5 team in the Big Ten, and the winner of those 4 games gets 4 automatic bids. That would be interesting, and frankly, it would be a lot of fun just to see whether or not the Big Ten could win 3 or 4 of those games some years and leave the SEC fans just furious with hatred that the best football conference in history wasn't the best football conference that year. Guys, any thoughts on this? Is this going to get resolved, or are these 2 conferences going to keep going to stay in this Mexican standoff such that they can't expand to 16 and they just stay with 12 forever? What's going to happen?
I tell you what, I hope not. I've been advocating for 16 teams. I don't think they should go beyond 16. I think that's too many. I think a 3-week playoff is sufficient if that's the way it might be. I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC should be considered so elite they can decide amongst themselves what's going to happen. I think that's bull cheese. I think it's ridiculous. You know what? I understand.
But Greg, I think the ACC and the Big 12 have already conceded that point. I think they've already said those 2 get to decide.
I think it's ridiculous. If I was those conferences, I would be putting up a real stink about it, because I'd say, look, I'm not debating that your best teams, you have more of them than we do, but at some level to say that these 2 are going to get more play. I mean, if you want to look at the NCAA basketball tournament, you can see what happens. Sometimes there's 6 teams from the same conference. Okay. And what it's really done is it's kind of changed everything in NCAA basketball to it's all about the tournament. Well, I think in basketball, you can kind of do that, and it gets everybody in the country involved because every area has at least 2 teams, 3 teams maybe. And I think that's good. But football is a different sport where I don't think you need to go to that extent. I saw where they said 28 teams. That's absurd. I think it's ridiculous. I say, from my opinion, no more than 3 from each conference, if that's the way they're going to do it. And I don't mind an independent Notre Dame if they get in, but I think 16 teams is sufficient. I think that's probably what everybody wants. I'm more concerned about other things. For me, I don't want to see SC not play Notre Dame because they're so worried about the playoffs. I talked with the late Denny Crum one time at length at a Final Four coaches conference, and I brought up something to him about a rule, and somebody says, "You're right about the rule, but it won't pass because coaches could get fired from it." And coaches will look at the expanding of playoffs and they'll say, could I get fired from this? How much pressure will that be expectations be to get in the playoffs? you know, it's ridiculous. When I was growing up, I didn't want to really believe that there was regionalism and bias. And then you say, well, wait a minute, that only happens, for the Heisman, where all the writers from one conference, vote for their guy and yada, yada, yada. But my feeling is, just make it simple. Don't try to complicate it. In the end, the top 8 teams will probably be the top 8 teams we could all guess at. Um, and the other 8 teams, if it's a 16-team tournament, it'll make it fun. I like the opening round. You get an opening round home game. If SC got in it this year, it'd be great to see them in the Coliseum in a first round playoff game, which I think every team should be in, whether you're number 1 seed or number 16 or number 12, if that's the way it would work. But I think this whole idea of the Big Ten and the SEC controlling everything is not a good thing for college football in general. They can have the best teams, that's fine, but no way the other way.
Eric, are the Big Ten and the SEC, are they going to get this together and reach a resolution, or are they going to keep stay at loggerheads?
I think eventually they do, because I think that they eventually will realize that, like, hey, if we're gonna keep the power in this, we need to do that. We can't let somebody else come in and make decisions for us. And so I could see that being an impetus to, okay, well, if we're gonna be the decision makers, then let's figure something out so we move forward together at the top of the pyramid together, rather than, well, we can't make it work, somebody else has to come in and make a decision for us. So that's where I could see them kind of coming together. But it doesn't sound like the two real kind of things out there right now. It doesn't sound like either one of them is going to say, yeah, we like that guy's idea and fully go with it.
I mean, it appears that the SEC coaches and athletic directors are very much behind the SEC's 5 automatic plus 11 at-large plan. And it sounds like the Big Ten coaches and athletic directors are just as much behind the automatic qualifier plan. So it's not so much the commissioners. I mean, if that's what the schools want, I don't know what they do about it. And I wonder if Sankey in the SEC, I wonder if his idea about you're in the top 6, you're automatically into this next stage, but you have to play the other conference for a berth, whether that's a way to get us somewhere. My view is that 16 is too many anyway, but I'm okay with 16. What I'm not okay with is the committee, because the people who have made the call on college football for a long time, the only thing if 2 teams have the same record, they may take other things into account. But really, if one team has more losses than the other, that's it. That's the only thing they ever see, and it's the only thing they've seen for years. It's stupid.
Well, if you don't have buys, right, you're making the best teams right now play 13 games to go in with the conference championships. And so if you do away with those and you do your, 1 plays 6 or whatever that is, that becomes interesting, because then everyone in there's going in. Everyone's played 13 games. Then there's no conference championship game where this team is extended and this team has buys and that kind of stuff. And I mean, I really do love the idea of the SEC getting like 1 team in, 2 teams in, after kind of talking for years and years and years about that. I'd risk that, right? I'd risk a year where there's 10 SEC teams or whatever, if it breaks that way, to have it go the other way, maybe.
Yeah. All right, Mark, make your prediction. Are the two conferences going to resolve this at some point in the next few months, so there's time to make the change? Obviously not for this season, but for the next college football season.
Yeah, so no, they're not going to get it figured out by October, whenever that cutoff date was. Next year will be a 12-team playoff format as well. Look, until they just rip the Band-Aid off this whole system and just reorganize, just put that NFL model in place already. The big conference, the SEC, gobble up the Big 12, the ACC, Just get those teams kind of intermingled in there. Everybody start playing more regionalized type of games. The pool of teams you're playing, you're being scheduled from, are from that group of 48 or whatever the number is going to be, and just move forward. Then you can do your 16-team playoff. Then you can do your, 1 versus 6 and all that kind of stuff. So just rip the Band-Aid. Let's just
and leave the Irish out, but we'll go ahead and play them in our non-conference. It'll be them, San Jose State, Missouri State that we play every year. That'll be our 3.
At that point, you can say, all right, Notre Dame, you can join the big conference because it's not going to affect USC's path to the playoffs.
All right. This is what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about where we think the current USC football team stands. Now, for our audience, you need to understand that some of what we're going to base this on is stuff that we've seen that we're allowed to talk about. Some of it is things we've heard from coaches or players that we're allowed to talk about. Some of it's stuff that we can't talk about, whether it's something that something we've been told off the record, or a scrimmage or a part of practice that we've seen that's not open to the public. And so what we can't do is tell you what's been going on in those practice sessions or in that scrimmage. Okay, if we do that, then Lincoln Riley's going to take away all access from everybody. So that doesn't make any sense. What we can do is we can talk about overall impressions that are based on all of the things that we know, including what we know of last year and how people played last year. So instead of talking about where we are in a way that's going to get us in trouble and get the media thrown out, instead I'm going to go through and play what we're going to call the true and false game. I'm going to make a statement, and then everybody's going to weigh in with either true or false. We're not going to have a lot of discussion on these because, one, if we start supporting our answer, we're going to run into trouble. And number two, because I have a bunch of these, and so if we start talking about all of them, we'll never get out of here. And I'm not willing to do that. All right, so here we go. We're starting the true and false game. Question number 1, or statement number 1. And Greg Katz, you're going first. USC will see a dramatic improvement in quarterback play this year. Greg Katz, true or false?
It's false because of the word dramatic. Dramatic means really, really incredibly improved, right? Dramatic, we all drop our jaws. I don't think that's what we're going to see. I think he'll be improved, but dramatically, no.
A slight improvement, says Greg Katz. Mark Holkin, dramatic improvement from USC quarterback play this year.
I'm gonna micromanage that word dramatic into better decision making. So if I say he's gonna have dramatically better decision making, I'm gonna say it's true.
Okay. Eric McKinney, dramatic improvement in quarterback play this year.
False. Same thing as Greg. Improved, yes. Dramatic makes me think like top 2 in the Big Ten. I don't know if it's there.
All right, number 2. USC's defensive line is every bit as good as the fans are hoping it is. Eric McKinney, true or false?
I think true. I have a lot of faith in that group this year. I think true.
Mark Holkin.
True.
Greg Katz.
Mostly true.
All right, well, that's nice. All right, how about this? USC has a clear number 3 receiver this year. Mark Holkin.
False.
Eric McKinney.
False. I think it's a different number 3 game to game, first part of the season, last part of the season. I don't think they have nobody as the number 3, but I think a few guys fill that role.
All right, so that's another way of saying we don't have a clear number 3, but we will have 3 receivers on the field sometimes. All right, Greg Katz. Does USC have a clear number 3 receiver this year?
I think they will be. So I guess I would say true in that aspect, but we don't know until we see how they play in the game. There's candidates out there. Let's put it that way.
You think somebody will rise to the top and establish themselves as a clear number 3? It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I think one will. Yes.
Okay. All right. Number 4. The offensive line is set, as in we know who the people are that are playing each spot. Eric McKinney.
False.
I think everybody's going to have to say false. We don't know what's happening with DJ Wingfield, but I'm going to assume, look, for purposes of this, let's assume that Wingfield remains ineligible because I think that's the most likely outcome. Mark Holken, if DJ Wingfield is ineligible, is the offensive line set now?
As in,
As in we know who the guys are and what spots they're playing.
there's still some ambiguity with that question. So I'm going to say false because I
Okay.
could fill in blanks with some of that.
All right, Greg Katz, is the offensive line set? Do we know who's playing and in what spot?
If the season started tomorrow,
Yeah.
it's set.
Okay. Now
Well, they've gone. Look, Lincoln Riley's gone 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row at USC where they've shuffled offensive lines first few games. Like they haven't had a we're good to go. This is our offensive line all the way through the year yet, and it's been seemingly far more clear than what it is this year. So I fully anticipate some juggling even once the season starts.
I'll say this. They know who their two deep are. They know who is part of the rotation. They just have to decide you're playing this spot specifically.
How many guys do you anticipate will be in the rotation? It's almost never 10 for any team. 7, 8 is usually about the number without injuries. Do we have we know who the 7 or 8 deep is? Or are we going to go deeper into the depth chart this year than that?
I
think
think
7, 8 sounds right. Center's interesting. Like, you don't want to flip your center constantly, but I do think that they have two, right? With John Ray Reed and with Killian O'Connor. I think you're fine with that. At guard, we've seen them, right? Series to series, quarter to quarter. Like they've done that over the past couple years. I don't know if they would want to do that at center, but I think they're comfortable with both those guys.
All right, here's the more important offensive line question. Based on what you guys have seen, what you've heard, and what you think you know, true or false, the offensive line is good. Greg Katz.
Depends on what your definition of good is. I will say that I cannot give a true or false answer to that, to be honest with you, because I'll need to see how it turns out in the games.
Well, once we see the games, we know. Greg, give me an answer. Come on. We'll all know then.
Chris, let's just calm down, take a chill pill.
I'm still angry about the NCAA, and I'm taking it out on you.
I have extreme compassion for you. It's like you're in the courtroom. I mean, I was afraid you were going to go out and get a coat and a tie on, sit down here, and we're all going to have to put on a judge's.
I couldn't even bother to shave and comb my hair today.
No, you don't, because when you don't shave, we know that you're getting ready for the huddle.
That's right. All right, so Greg Katz is a conscientious objector to this question. He'll refuse to answer. Mark Holken, the offensive line is good. True or false?
Good. True. I'll let the dramatic pause sell the answer. How's that?
I mean, I was impressed that you paused and then gave that answer. Eric McKinney, the offensive line is good. True or false?
Yeah, so saying false would imply the offensive line is bad. So I don't want to imply that it's bad, but I'm going between. So it's false that it's good, but I think it's fine. So how do I say fine?
The bottom line, Chris, is the three of us saw the scrimmage. Period. That's why we can't answer this question with a full.
No, I think we can based on everything else, right? What we've seen. Like Elijah Page was okay, not great last year. Like I think he's going to take a step forward, but you've got questions. You've got a lot of questions at a lot of spots on the offensive line, and that's not a position where you want to go into the season with a lot of questions. I mean, the coaches are clearly like, we like who we have. We think we can get it done. Nobody on USC's schedule this year is coming into this game going, "Oh my God, they're going to run us over." They're not. So I think the line is going to be fine. I'll be surprised if it's like a dominant force and just running at will against everybody and not allowing quick pressures throughout the season. I just don't think they've built that yet.
If the offensive line, put aside dominant, they're not going to be that. If the offensive line is good, USC is in the playoff this year. That's the reality. They are. All right. Wayman Jordan is the best USC running back in Lincoln Riley's tenure at USC. Greg Katz.
No.
Mark Holken.
Yeah, that's a premature question. I got to say no.
Eric McKinney.
The whole point is premature, right? I think true. I think by the end of his time at USC, I think he is. And I think look, Marshawn Lloyd, incredible. Travis Dye, incredible. I mean, that all right. Woody Marks, what we just saw, 1,100 yards. Like, you don't just walk up and go for 1,000 at USC recently. I think Wayman combines a lot of what those guys do and gives them an explosive option in the backfield. I think he ends up being that.
USC will be able to rush the passer this year. True or false? Mark Holken.
True.
Eric McKinney.
I think true.
Greg Katz.
Yes, they will be a much better pass rushing team. No question.
All right. I agree with all you guys on that. How about this one? The tight ends will be productive in the pass game this year. Greg Katz.
Yes, they will be productive in the pass game because they have really good players at tight end that can catch the ball and move with it.
Mark Holken.
True, because we're still waiting to define that number three wide receiver.
Eric McKinney.
Yeah, more productive than they've been. Not in USC history, but productive compared to what we've seen recently. Yes.
I mean, what we've seen recently is probably 18 yards a game. So, all right. Well, we'll see about that. All right, here we go. You guys ready for some hard ones? USC is a playoff team this year. Eric McKinney.
False.
Mark Holken.
Uh-oh. Oh, this is a tough one for Mark.
True.
Greg Katz.
Do you want me to do my Mark Culkin impression? They have an opportunity. So if you're going to say true or false, a little bit more true. Let's see what happens when they play Illinois. Then we'll get an idea.
All right. USC is a contender to win the Big Ten this year. Mark Holken.
Come on, Mark, you can do it.
The overall pick, yes, true.
Eric McKinney.
I mean, if they're contending to win the Big Ten, I assume that means they're top 2, top 3 in the conference, and that makes you a playoff team. So if I don't see them as a playoff team, then no, false.
Greg Katz.
All right, repeat the question, please.
USC is a contender to win the Big Ten this year.
They're an outside dark horse contender.
I'm not even going to ask the next question on the list because I already know the answer based on what we talked about. All right, how about this? USC will start.
Whoa. You send us this stuff and we're all looking at it and trying to analyze it.
All right. Get ready, Greg Katz. USC is a contender to win the national title this year. Go ahead, Greg.
No.
Mark.
No.
Eric, go ahead and say your no. Of course it's no. Listen, that was a silly question. I threw it in there just for fun. I wanted to see if everybody was on board with playoff and Big Ten. I thought I could stop you there. All right. USC will start at least one freshman on offense this year. Eric McKinney.
False. False on offense.
Greg Katz. One freshman will start on offense this year.
No.
Mark Holken.
I got 12 games to say yes or true. Or just we're talking. Yeah, true.
Okay.
It's a long season.
It is a long season. I think a freshman will start at some point, but it won't be early. This is an easier one. USC will start at least one freshman on defense this year. Greg Katz.
If we go by 12 games, yes.
Eric.
Yeah, I think there could be a game in there where maybe 2 start.
Mark.
True.
USC may start a freshman on defense in the opener. We'll see. But that's at least a spot where there are guys that are competing for starting spots, especially in the secondary. Okay, how about this? You guys aren't going to want to answer this because you don't want to make enemies.
Oh, no.
Floyd Picard will be better in college than Jakeem Stewart. Eric McKinney.
I'm gonna say true. I'm gonna say true. I think Floyd Picard has some natural pass rush ability, and when you pile up sacks, that means a lot on the defensive line. Now, again, it's like when you're saying when we talked about the offensive line, I don't think Jakeem Stewart is going to have a bad career. I think he's going to be plenty good, but Floyd I think he's got it.
Mark Holkin, Floyd Picard will be better than Jakeem Stewart at USC.
Yeah, you're making enemies, Chris.
I'm just asking questions. You guys are answering them.
Look, Coach Haney says Floyd's got elite feet. He's got NFL Sunday written all over him. So, true.
Greg Katz. Picard or Stewart?
I say at the end of 12 games.
No, end of his career in college.
In his career. Who is going to be the better college player when all is said and done?
I kind of could say yes on that one, Picard, yeah. But Stewart,
What's interesting about this is I think if I asked all three of you guys whether you thought Jakeem Stewart's going to be a really good player in college, I think you'd all say yes. This is more a reflection of just how good people inside the program think Floyd Picard will be. And I mean, it probably helps that he's 37 now. At least he looks like he's 37 now. He's he looks almost as old as me. I guess that's not fair. I'm a lot older than 37. All right. This will be Elijah Page's last year at USC. Mark Holkin.
True.
Eric McKinney.
False.
Greg Katz.
true.
I hope you guys are right, because if so, that means he's playing really well. Okay, at the end of this year, Kamari Ramsey will be in the Mark Carrier / Tim McDonald category for all-time great U.S. safeties. I'm not saying Ronnie and Troy level. I'm saying the next level below, which is a level that has a bunch of All-American dudes. Kamari Ramsey, by the end of this year, will join that group. He will be in the Tim McDonald Mark Carrier category. True or false, Greg Katz?
False.
Mark Holkin.
True.
Eric McKinney.
With just 2 years, it's hard to put him with those guys. I think false, but like the level just below that, I think there's Talanoa Hufanga, like that kind of thing. I think he is. I think Kamari is ready for a big time season. I think he's going to be outstanding this year.
USC should have picked up another linebacker in the transfer portal this year. True or false? Mark Holkin.
False.
Eric McKinney.
It's hard. I know we're supposed to say true or false. It's hard to say true without knowing like how that would have affected the room, right? Do you, if you get a starter, do you lose a starter? Like, what is the domino effect? I'm okay. I'm cautiously optimistic with how that linebacker room looks right now. 5 games in, maybe different, but I'm gonna say that they're okay with how they are right now.
All right, we're getting a false from him. Greg Katz. USC should have picked up another linebacker in the transfer portal. True or false?
Probably false, because I think if they picked up another linebacker, you have to be really good. And I think if you're going to only be good, they've already got good players. And I'll tell you what, it's about the coaching. I'll tell you, it's the coaching. He is one hell of a coach, Coach Ryan.
And he's not alone on that side of the ball. That's a nice spot to be in.
Right.
How about this? USC should have picked up another offensive lineman in the transfer portal. Greg Katz.
I would have preferred it if he was an elite offensive lineman, but it didn't happen. So you go with what you have.
Eric McKinney, another
Sure.
alignment. Should have happened.
Yeah, true. Would have been great to throw another. I mean, the Wingfield anticipated news, plays into this too, but I don't think you could have thrown enough experienced guys in the mix this offseason along the line.
Mark?
Yeah, just because of the way college football is building rosters, I think the answer has to be true.
USC can win at Oregon this year. Mark Holken.
They can win. True. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to. I think they can.
Yeah, I didn't say they were going to. I said they can't. Greg Katz, USC can win that game in Eugene, can't they?
I was there when Lane Kiffin brought up his team up there and they won. But if you're saying absolutely win or lose, I would say probably more likely they'll lose.
No, I know they're the underdog. I'm just they can win that game, right, Eric McKinney?
Yeah,
USC
they can
win in Oregon.
Yeah,
And
they can win.
Okay, and USC can win at Notre Dame this year. Probably. That's an easier prediction, right? I think winning at Oregon this year is harder than winning at Notre Dame this year. Yes? Let's make that the new question. Which is the harder game, at Notre Dame or at Oregon?
I think at Notre Dame is harder this year. I know they're both going to have to answer some quarterback questions, I think, as we go, and that's going to say a lot about it. But I think the turnover at Notre Dame is probably better, and both running backs are really talented. I think winning at Notre Dame, though, is a little bit tougher.
You agree, Mark?
Yeah.
Winning Notre Dame is tougher than Oregon this year?
First of all, it's a rivalry game. Second of all, Marcus Freeman is a much better head coach than Dan Lanning. So, yes. And it might be the last game of the freaking rivalry. So it's going to be much tougher, of course.
Greg Katz, which is the tougher game?
Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a whole different experience. My only hope is that we see the Trojans show up on Friday for a walkthrough and prepare their players for what's going to at least be where they're going to be for a long time, with a lot of anger in that Notre Dame stadium.
Yeah, I think you're both wrong. All three of you are wrong. Oregon's the tougher game. Notre Dame got beat by NIU last year, for crying out loud. They looked great in the playoff, and it's a good football team. They don't have the talent up and down the roster that Oregon does. And Oregon's just as difficult a place to play. Okay, Lincoln Riley will need to modify his approach to offensive football to maximize the strengths of this particular team. Eric McKinney.
So we've seen his approach in the past, right, at Oklahoma, run the ball a ton. So I don't know if it's modifying it from what he's done ever, but modifying it from what he's done at USC, I think true. I think you really have to lean into, we've got a defense that can get us stops. 3 runs and a punt is okay. I'm not going punting is winning, but when it comes down to it, like late third quarter, risky quarterback passes, don't need a lot of them.
Yeah.
Greg, Eric McKinney is looking for a Woody Hayes type offensive game plan for Lincoln Riley.
Not all the way.
Okay.
That's what I said. Embrace winning games 21-17. It's okay. That's okay.
Greg, you're old school. Are you in favor of Lincoln Riley being the next Bo Schembechler this year?
I don't know whether he's going to have a choice, because if his quarterback doesn't come out and do some of the things he wants, he may be more inclined to run the ball if they can run the ball against the really good defensive teams that they're gonna face. So I think he's going to be inclined to run the ball more because he has to do it.
Mark Culkin, is he going to run the football this year? Is he going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust like the old days?
No, he's going to go Godwin 4 yards. He's going to pull Tim Davis. He's going to use that page. I think you're going to see a more conservative Coach Riley. Doesn't mean he's going to he's not going to throw the ball. I just think you're going to see a more, as what Eric was talking about, more conservative.
I mean, this is the first time that Lincoln Riley has ever had a defense that is better than his offense. And that's what we're going to see this year, right? The defense is going to be better than the offense. So that means you can afford to punt. when Caleb Williams and Alex Grinch were running the two sides of the ball, you had to score a touchdown every single possession. All right, how about this? Walker Lions will surpass Lake McCree on the depth chart by the end of the season. Mark?
They run two tight end sets so often. I don't know. Okay, yes. Only because I don't know how to answer that question, Chris. I mean, they run so many two tight end sets, and it's usually going to be Walker Lions and Lake McCree.
I mean, presumably sometimes they'll have one tight end, and is it going to be Lake McCree or is it going to be Walker Lions most
Well,
of
is
the
that
time?
going to be a tell that they're throwing the ball? I mean, one of them has to be the better blocker. So I don't know.
All right, Eric McKinney.
It's a dumb question. Sorry, Chris.
Maybe.
I think
Eric,
false. I think
give a dumb answer to our dumb question. Go.
I think that's false. I think that USC fans very, very much underestimate how key Lake McCree is to the offense and how much Lincoln Riley really likes him as part of that offense. Everyone is ready, turn the page on him, and these other guys are going to play over him. I think he's a big part of the offense again this year, like in terms of snap counts and being on the field.
Greg Katz, who's going to get more snaps, Lake McCree or Walker Lions?
If he stays healthy, it'll be Lake McCree.
All right. Marcellus Williams will be the biggest contributor from a USC freshman corner. I understand Williams is a redshirt freshman, but is he going to be the freshman corner that's on the field the most? Greg Katz.
I would say at this point he will be.
Mark Holken?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that's false. Do I have to give you the other player who I think will be ahead of him?
You don't? I mean, well, look, tell us this. You talking about a redshirt freshman or you talking about a true freshman?
I'm talking redshirt.
Okay.
He's not, well, actually, true freshman. I would have to say true freshman.
Eric? Marcellus Williams, the USC freshman corner with the most snaps and the biggest impact this year.
Yeah, false.
Is it going to be a true freshman or redshirt freshman?
I think that you're going to get impact from a true freshman and a redshirt freshman potentially over Marcellus.
All right. And last on the true false game.
I hate this. Go ahead.
Well,
The young freshman from Corona, Houston Longstreet, will start multiple games at quarterback this season. Mark Holken, go ahead.
True.
Greg Katz.
true.
Eric McKinney.
False.
All right. Let's close with this. It's another game.
I want to know what you think. What do you think on that question?
I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
I think the answer is yes. And because I think the answer is yes, that means that I think something will go wrong, either injury wise or performance wise. But I think the good money is on Longstreet starting multiple games. All right. Here's the last game, and they were shutting it down for the night. This is a game that's called Would You Rather? Question number 1. Would you rather beat Oregon or Notre Dame this year, Greg Katz?
Oregon only because they're a Big Ten conference game.
Mark Holken?
Notre Dame. For the reasons I've been screaming since forever. I want that shillelagh.
Eric McKinney?
Yeah, I can't pick to lose to Notre Dame. It's that, and especially because, right, with all the jawing back and forth all off season, that'd be tough to, we don't want to play and then lose and then have that whole thing.
I'll say this. These are the two teams I most want to beat. If this is the last USC Notre Dame game, this one becomes very, very easy for me. All right. On 4th and goal from the 3 with the game on the line, would you rather have USC's offense on the field or USC's defense on the field? Eric McKinnon.
Ooh. I think statistically the offense, but I love a good 4th down defensive stand. I'm gonna say defense.
Mark.
Yep. Defense, clap, clap, clap.
All right, Greg Katz, 4th and 3. Everything's on the line. You want the offense out there or the defense out there?
Defense.
I don't know. 3 years ago, if you would have asked me, we're going to ask the same question, and all three guys would have said, I want Lincoln Riley's defense on the field instead of his offense. I think
3
you would
years ago, Caleb Williams was quarterback.
No, if Caleb Williams is quarterback, that probably changes a lot of things. Okay. Would you want USC to be tested in the second half of a football game this year before Illinois? Do you want them tested in the fourth quarter before they go to Illinois? Eric?
No. I want them to blow out those 4 teams by 100 points each. It's Michigan State maybe has some stuff that they're going to bring, but it's question mark time if you're struggling in the second half against anybody.
Mark, Greg, same answer?
Yes. Wash, rinse, repeat. Absolutely.
I mean, you know you're going to play some close games, and so you want some experience playing. But no, I'm with you. You can't have, if you're in a tight game at Purdue, then in the fourth quarter we're in trouble. All right, here's a terrible question. Would you rather win the Big Ten Conference but lose your first playoff game, or not win the Big Conference, make it all the way to the college football playoff final, and lose there? Greg Katz, which one would you rather have?
Second one. If you can get to the NCAA, if you can get to the college football playoff championship game, there are so many things that are going to go right for you after that game, unless you get blown out of the water. It'll affect recruiting. Everyone remembers the last game. I mean, people talk about North Carolina State with Jim Valvano decades ago when they had that lucky win in Albuquerque. And nobody says, well, they didn't even come in first place in the ACC. And my feeling is the end of the season, and I've been around SC football when they didn't have the greatest season, but they go into the Rose Bowl or they play somebody really strongly. I stand by what I said.
All right, Mark Culkin, which one would you rather have? You want that conference title and an early loss, or do you want to make it all the way to the end?
As long as it doesn't end like it did against Vince Young in Texas, take me all the way to the end and rip my heart out.
Yeah, it might though. Eric?
Yeah, give me playoff wins. Playoff wins, I think, are going to mean a lot going forward.
I agree with all you guys, and it's interesting. It's interesting that we'd say that. Shows you how much college football has changed. All right, would you rather keep the Notre Dame rivalry or keep the UCLA rivalry? You can only have one. Eric McKinney.
Notre Dame.
Greg Katz.
Based on where we are today, I would want to keep UCLA because they're in our city, and it's a thing that captures LA like very few things do on an event, and we know it's one time every year. If you ask me, which one would I rather play? Notre Dame, no question, home or away.
Mark Culkin, which one would you rather have?
Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's Notre Dame for me too. But part of that is that the UCLA rivalry has just lost a lot of steam. In the 80s, when I would go to that game, whether it's at the Coliseum or the Rose Bowl, the place was packed. It was energetic. Even those years the teams weren't great, that same energy just does not exist in that rivalry anymore. Just doesn't. It's actually quite sad.
You're also just you're not playing for the Rose Bowl anymore. I mean, they've sort of chopped away so much like regionalism with college football now. Like USC's rivals have to be Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. Like those are the conference rivals now, much more than I think back, even Pac-10, Pac-12, like with Stanford and Washington and some of those. It feels like you need to go get those national teams now.
Well, the teams don't even recruit the same players anymore. And there used to be that animosity where you grew up across the street from the guy who's trying to knock you out. And they're wearing, UCLA's colors or USC's colors. That doesn't even exist anymore. The city section high school, I mean, that was part of USC versus UCLA. And that whole thing is just disintegrating before our eyes.
And that's football specific too, right? I mean, when you factor in all the sports and the school, like a lot of those other teams still, the UCLA rivalry means something, but even all those combined aren't hitting football and the importance of SC Notre Dame.
Yeah. And look, part of that is that that USC hasn't upheld their end of the bargain over the last 10 years, right? But it's not just that. There's something missing in that rivalry. And if you became a USC fan within the last 5 years, you haven't seen what USC UCLA used to be like. It used to be special. I don't think it's special anymore. I just don't. Okay, last one. Would you rather have Caleb Williams and his 2022 defense or Jaden Mayava and his 2025 defense? Eric McKinney.
See, this is tough because the 2022 defense, does that imply that I have to have all the coaches that come along with the 2022 defense?
You don't get Henny, you don't get Dan Lynn.
Yeah.
You get the 2022 defense. You have Alex Grinch out there doing Grinchy stuff.
But I've also seen if I get a fully healthy Caleb Williams, that combination gives me a shot, like a real shot at the playoff.
That's why I asked the question, Eric.
And so when I first looked at that question, this was not hard. It was the 25 defense because I'm excited about that side of the ball this year. But boy, that 22 Caleb Williams season was special. I'm gonna say the defense this year. I'm gonna say the 25 defense. Now, if you give me the 27 defense, looking way ahead, that might be interesting. Yeah, the 25 defense this year. I'm gonna go with that. I'm excited to see USC play a little defense again.
Mark Culkin, which one? Caleb and the 22 crew, or Jaden and the 25 defense?
Jaden and the 25 crew, because forget Caleb Williams. We watched what happened against Tulane, and that was the final nail in the coffin.
So you're picking Jaden Mayava and this defense over Tulane?
Yes.
Okay, Greg Katz, what'll it be?
There is no question in my mind that I'm taking Caleb Williams and the 2022 defense. To compare quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, did we forget how great he could be?
No.
Jaden Mayava has not really done anything to that level. The 2025 defense hasn't proved anything other than a lot of hope, desire. It's almost like they've proven they're going out and shutting everybody down. They haven't proved anything. So
the 22 defense proved a lot of stuff.
Greg, they took a 99%. You saw the ticker on ESPN, 99% probability to win the game. And USC lost that game.
Which game are you referring to?
Tulane, the Cotton Bowl.
Here's the right answer. The right answer is Jaden Mayava and the 25 defense. Not because I think that Jaden Mayava is in the same universe as Caleb Williams. He's not, Greg. I know that. But because I don't think you should have to score 44 points a game to win a football game.
But they can score 45 points a game. That's the deal.
With Caleb Williams, they would score a lot of points this year. There is no question in my mind. But I do not want to see any more 44 to 42 games. I don't. I saw enough.
I don't disagree with you. And I don't disagree with Culkin when you bring up Tulane. But in the entirety, you're not talking about a specific game. You're talking about which one would you rather have in its entirety. I assume that's what you meant, right?
Yeah, we're gonna play the season right now. You get one of those two things.
All I want to say, no question about it. Caleb Williams at quarterback. In this case, 45 to 30 is fine with me. It's better than a loss.
We just established that Greg Katz doesn't care about defense. Okay, guys. 85.
Oh, man. All right.
You know what? Hey, look, you hosted this show for a long time. You got to say whatever you wanted to me. All right, guys. That's it for today. Unless somebody has words of wisdom, we still have some sort of special going on, Eric, for WeAreSC.
$1 first week.
I mean, $1. Look, if you
College
haven't done
football
it-
starts this weekend.
yeah.
Here we
Would you
go.
rather have Caleb Williams in the 2022 defense or $1 this week? Come on, it's $1, please.
Yeah, Eric, just a question to help sales a little bit. How much will that $1 go up when they're going to play Clay Helton's team the following week? Will it be $3 or $5, or will it
No,
remain?
no, same. Most likely the same $1. I don't know if we could throw some ice cream in or something like that in honor of Clay. That's on Chris. That'll be up to Chris if he wants to send some ice cream out.
Has our message board ever crashed because there was so much traffic because of Clay Helton?
If Clay Helton beats USC at the Coliseum, Clay Helton will pay for everybody to have $1 for the rest of the year. I haven't confirmed that with him yet, but I've talked to his people, and I think that's probably the way it'll shake out. Okay, that's not going to happen. I mean, Clay Helton would occasionally win a game at the Coliseum. It's not like it's a road game. Okay, guys, that's all we have. Yeah.
Yep.
Any final words? No. All right. Then we're done. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. It's getting close, everybody. Fight on.